I got down from the bus at Gouripur intersection and was very surprised and shocked to see that all the shops were closed. There was no sign of people anywhere. Looking at the watch, I was startled. It was almost 11:30 at night. Missed the train. I left 2 buses to avoid the stampede. But I didn't think it would be so late at night. Maybe it wouldn't have been so surprising if I hadn't spent the long journey sleeping comfortably in the bus. Be that as it may, after a 30-minute cycle ride from Gouripur Junction, you can see my village after crossing 3 or 4 small villages and a large deserted empty field. I entered the right-hand road from Gouripur Junction. This brick road split into 2 branches in front of Sitaganj, and one of them ran towards my village. After walking along the right-hand road for a while, I stood in front of the closed door of a small house on the left side. The door is iron tin. On the wall above the door is written in bold Bengali letters, "Bicycles are stored." This is the house of Buro Paresh Sen, who leave the village for work, study, etc. Almost all leave their bicycles and motorcycles here. The fare is very low, 5 taka per bicycle and 10 taka per motorcycle. I knocked on the tin door of the house several times, but got no response. The cold wind of winter was making my teeth shiver, so I tied the muffler on my head tighter and tighter, rubbing the palm of my hand. I called, "Kaku, open the door. I will take the bicycle." Then I tapped my finger a few more times, but it didn't work either. When I took out my mobile phone from my pocket to call my grandpa, I saw when the poor man fell asleep crying on his stomach. I stood back towards the door with a disturbing sound. I saw a hunched black figure pushing the darkness towards the door. As soon as I came forward, I could clearly recognize him by the soft light of the hurricane in the man's hand. Yes, Dokani Paresh Senator, so far, I have been assured, many worries have disappeared, and my head is a little lighter. Old Paresh Sen held up the hurricane and took a good look at my face a few times and said in a trembling voice, "Oh, you, where are you staying all night, Bapo?" Without saying anything, I just nodded a little and followed him into the room. The old man's whole body was covered with a black, thick, comfortable sheet, a monkey hat on his head, a pair of leathery black boots on his feet, and the familiar thick-framed glasses in his eyes. After a few seconds, I came out of the door with a torch and sat on a bicycle, and immediately the thick iron door of the house closed with a sound. Shivering from the cold, I cycled on, my gloves already melted. Suddenly, I noticed that the trembling lips had started humming without my knowledge. I also remembered the line I had read as a child, "Akin karo / shita lage to sangi daro." Humming like this, my expedition started. After it went like that for about 15-20 minutes, suddenly I felt a slight change in the weather. The cold seems to sting a little more. I saw how the houses and trees in the darkness were looking at me mysteriously, as if they were secretly weaving some tricks around me. Something cold continued to descend down my spine. I pressed hard on the pedal of the bicycle, but I could not pull the bicycle as before. My legs were frozen and cold. It felt as if someone had tied the Himalayas behind the bicycle, and I was dragging it along. I lost my balance in fear, tried unsuccessfully to speed up the bike once more, and just then a cold hand landed on the left shoulder of my cold body. Immediately I fell off the bike with a horrified scream. The shoulder area still cold, but the paw felt like it was gone. After a few seconds I slowly stood up, legs shaking like a drunk and throat dry as wood. After swallowing 2 or 3 times, I looked around in the light of the torch, then I screamed in a fearful voice, "Who are you? What do you want?" I held the bicycle in both hands and shouted once again, "Who are you? What do you want from me?" There was no response for a few seconds. Then suddenly the thick, black darkness of the new moon blew right in front of my ears and the body said in a soft, hollow, and terrible broken voice, "Who am I? Knowing what will happen? Ride the bike, ride fast. I will do you some harm. No, otherwise, heh, you're done." The cold air from his mouth that came out with the sound entered my one ear and blew out the other, and a terrible stench filled my whole body. I covered my face and first sat on the bike, then started to pedal. The same thing happened this time. Even when I tried to pull the bike, I couldn't pull it. It kept rolling. Suddenly, I felt the presence of a cold paw on the same spot on my left shoulder and on the right side of my stomach again, the incorporeal grasping me in both hands. The muscles in those 2 parts of the body froze as if. Now I saw the bicycle running vigorously. I didn't understand where we were running. I pressed the brakes hard to stop the bicycle, but I couldn't stop it. Once the bicycle came to the intersection of Timothy Road, I recognized that road. This is Sitaganj intersection. If you get down on the left-hand road at the intersection and it is 10 to 15 minutes, you will see the empty field first, then my village. I remembered the ghostly crematorium in the middle of the field. How strange, how horrible all the stories I have heard around it since childhood. I have heard the people of the village say that on the night of the deep new moon or throughout the night, the ghouls roam in that crematorium. They mislead the passers-by and eat all the food, sugar, fruits and roots that are inside their bags. Until a few hours ago, I paid no heed to these murmurings, but today, standing on this deep new moon night, I was subjected to a terrible new experience. The strong wall between facts and gossip and faith and disbelief melted like ice in the waves of a mad sea. Finally, I reached the crematorium road. The long-known path seems to be unknown today. Until some time ago, the surroundings were covered in thick darkness, but when I reached this path, I saw where all the soft light fell on the tops of the big banyan ashwatshora trees. What a horrible weather it was. The crematorium is waiting for a group of incorporeal guests. The incorporeal body that existed throughout the cycle's career was no longer so frightening. My body adapted to its cold paw. I thought to myself, if I can cross this field once, I will live. Where is the body behind going? Who knows if it will go home with me? While thinking all these things, I suddenly fell off the bike and rolled down the road in the low field on the opposite side of the crematorium. As soon as I was in the middle of the field, I saw someone holding the branch of the banyan tree hanging on the side of the road and sitting on the tree. Then suddenly there was a loud commotion in all the trees of the crematorium, along with loud screams. It felt like the branches of the trees were collapsing with the fire of thousands of bodies. The field started shaking, and the grassy flat field was filled with many cracks. I was not able to stand up on my feet, but somehow I got up and returned home with great difficulty. I washed my face, hands and feet well, and stretched my body on a soft bed. I felt unbearable pain all over my body. The thermometer showed a temperature of 105 degrees Fahrenheit. I woke up the next morning and found that there was no pain in my body, and my body temperature was completely normal, the same as yesterday's incident. And not stopping so much, I saw that some parts of my bicycle were bent. In the meantime, Mother gave the bag in her hand to go to the market. I immediately took the brush and went out to the market. I sat at the market at Sitaganj Junction and continued there. The same way, after a few minutes I reached the crematorium road. I stopped the cycle and started to look at the crematorium, but I did not find anything unusual there. The trees are standing as before and the grassy field is also there, flat as ever. I couldn't think of anything else. My head started to feel heavy again. When I came out of the crematorium, I saw the plants of the field, the twisted grass and the iron furnace smiling at me.